Pythagorean Theorem word problems. Number 1. The floor in James's classroom is 30 feet by 72 feet. What is the length of the diagonal of the floor? So let's draw a picture. We're going to draw a picture of a rectangle. And let's fill in the measurements given to us in the problem. So 30 feet by 72 feet. And it says, what is the length of the diagonal? So we know diagonal goes from one vertice to the opposite vertice. And the diagonal is always your hypotenuse measurement. It's always your C measurement. So let's write the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And let's fill in the measurements given to us. So we know 30 and 72 are the legs of this right triangle. And we know that the hypotenuse, the C measurement, is always opposite that right angle. So we're going to plug 30 in for A or B and square it, and plug 72 in for A or B and square it to get C. So you're going to square 30, add to that the square of 72, and then your answer is going to be the square root of those numbers. When after squaring and adding them together, you're going to take the square root, and you're left with C equals whatever that answer is. Number 2, the Stevens hung a rectangular mirror. Let's draw a picture. Rectangle. In their hallway that has a diagonal of 51 inches. So the diagonal is 51 inches, which also means the hypotenuse is 51 inches. And a side whose length is 45 inches. We'll pick this as a side. What is the width? So let's write our Pythagorean theorem. Let's plug in our measurements. 51 is going to get substituted for C, don't forget. 45 can be substituted for A or B. Don't forget to square it. And so anytime we're missing a leg measurement in a right triangle, we're going to square the measurements that are given to us, then subtract, and then take the square root to get your answer. So go ahead and do that now. Next question. Melanie's remote control airplane landed 8 kilometers west and 6 kilometers north of the starting point. So here's the starting point. Just put a point on your page. Then we're going to mark 8 kilometers west and 6 kilometers north. So 8 kilometers west and 6 kilometers north. How far is the remote control from the starting point? So we're trying to find this measurement, which is the hypotenuse, because it's opposite the right angle. So you're going to square 6, square 8, add the two numbers together, and then take the square root to find your answer. Number 4. The gate in Sam's backyard has a diagonal brace that is 5 feet long. Well, everybody can visualize what a gate looks like. It's just a rectangle that looks like this. And it says the diagonal brace that is 5 feet long, so from one vertice to the other vertice is 5 feet. That's also the hypotenuse. So anytime you see the word diagonal, you know that's the measurement for the hypotenuse. The width of the gate is 3 feet. How tall is the gate? So I'm going to call this A. So let's plug these measurements in. We don't know what A is. 3 squared equals 5 squared. So recall, anytime you're missing a leg measurement, you're going to square the numbers, then subtract, and then take the square root. Number 5, Mr. Harrell is planting a square-shaped flower garden. Square-shaped flower garden, so draw a picture of a square. that has 12 feet on each side. He plans on constructing a diagonal walkway through the garden. So here's the walkway. It's the diagonal that we're missing. It's the measurement opposite the right angle. So you're going to square 12, square 12 again, add the two numbers together, and then take the square root to find your answer. Number 6. Betty's taking a shortcut to her friend's house by walking a diagonal path across a vacant lot. So here's your vacant lot. The path is 50 meters and the lot is 40 meters. So the diagonal path is 50. The lot is 40 meters long. How wide is the lot? So we don't know the width. I'm going to call the width B. So let's plug these measurements into the formula. So we have 40 squared plus B squared equals 50 squared. So square the two measurements, subtract them, then take the square root. Number 7, Mr. Griffin has a pull-down ladder in his garage that is 10 feet long. So here's the ladder. It's 10 feet long. The height from the floor to the ceiling is 8 feet. Okay, so let's change this. This is the height from the floor. So here's the floor. And here's the ceiling. So that's 8 feet. The ladder is going to come down, not straight down, but it's going to come down at an angle, and the ladder is 10 feet. So that is also your hypotenuse measurement. So 10 is your hypotenuse measurement. How far is the bottom of the ladder from the wall when it is pulled down? So this is the wall here. And then, so 8 feet is the wall. The ladder is 10 feet. We're trying to find, we'll call this A. So plug in your measurements. A squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. So square those numbers, subtract them, and then take the square root. The cell on Mike's sailboat is in the shape of a right triangle. So I'm going to draw a right triangle. The base of the cell is 9 feet. The diagonal of the cell is 15 feet. What is the area of the cell? Well, let's recall the formula for area of a triangle. It's base times height divided by 2. Base times height divided by 2, or base times height and then take half of it. So in order to get the height, we need to find this measurement. That's our height. So we need to use the Pythagorean theorem to find our height. So we're going to use 9 squared plus B squared equals 15 squared. Square the two measurements, then subtract them and take the square root to get your height, and then plug in the measurements into the area formula. So you have 9 times whatever the height is divided by 2 would be your area. So go ahead and use the Pythagorean theorem to find your height and then plug it into the area formula. Okay. Number 4. In a rectangular coordinate system, what is the distance from 1, 1 to 6, 5? So here's 1, 1, here's 6, 5. We're trying to find this distance here. Trying to find that distance here. Okay. Well, we already know what this measurement is here. This is a leg of a right triangle. And we're just going to count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that has a measurement of 4. And then to find this measurement, we're just going to count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to find C, the hypotenuse. So you're going to use 4 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared. So go ahead and square those measurements, add them, and then take the square root to get your answer.